Yo, I'm not gonna lie. When Derek had said that he wasn't gonna do political commentary stuff anymore on his main channel, I was intrigued but kind of disappointed because that's a big reason why I became a fan of his. Because I liked his nuanced takes and stuff. So he said he was gonna do a music. He was gonna change the channel to more, music oriented stuff. I didn't know what to expect, but motherfucking hell, this motherfucker really went for Saint Angle as that second video after the Avenged Sevenfold thing. I was like, I'm very appreciative of this because you guys don't notice, but I have wanted to talk about Saint Anger. But I've heard Todd talk about it. He was fucking scathing, so I never felt motivated to talk about it. And then Brad talked about it, but he was listening to it for the first time, so I don't know, I never really cared because I'm like, well, you're just getting into it. I've had 20 years of this shit, so it'll be interesting to kind of hear what Derek has to say, and then I'll give my thoughts.
Before I go through all the ins and outs, you're probably wondering what I think about Saint Anger. Well, I think this comment that I left on the video of Saint Anger completely encapsulate this. I didn't even know it was here. I went because I was actually thinking of like maybe I'll just react to it, but I'm like everybody knows what saying or what it sounds like. I don't need to react to it or anything like that. But I went and 4 years ago I left a comment on the video. I don't remember this at all, but it says, "I'm extremely open-minded when it comes to bands experimenting with their sound, but this album is pure trash." And yes, ladies and gentlemen, that I still feel like it's trash. I've thought it was trash all throughout the years. Listening to it way back in the day, listening to it 4 years ago, listening to it just a couple of years ago. I always come back to it just to see if I have maybe some type of... I love doing that. I love there's some things, because you never know. Sometimes you're just not in the right mindset when you're listening to something, and then you miss something that was like fantastic. You know what I did that with? The band Periphery. Periphery was a band that I started listening to super late.
I still have not listened to Periphery. Like, they seem cool. I, I guess my Periphery was Architects. You hear about them for years, blah blah blah, and then you finally give them a chance. I'm like, I don't even remember how I gave them a chance, but I did, and I was like, fuck, this is some good shit.
Yeah, all that, but I digress. So I come back to saying or things like that, but it never fails. It's just not good to me. Yes, Lars' drum, his snare drum, just does not sound good. It's overwhelming to the senses. It just really distracts from the music. But also, the music isn't that good to begin with. And I feel like what happens a lot of time is people like Metallica. They want to support them. So there becomes a teeny little bit of a parasocial relationship kind of developing. Because I feel like if Saint Anger, the album, was not Metallica, like if you slap some other name on there, right? Just like this is a debut album from like Drowning Pool or something or whatever. Let's just say we just swap some shit around. You'd be like, I don't really like Drowning Pool that much. You'd probably be like, this is okay. But this wouldn't be anything like, wow, this is incredible. Like this is blowing me away or anything like that. I feel like a lot of people are just lying to themselves because they want to support Metallica, and I feel like that's silly.
Okay, so this is exactly why I'm responding to this video. Motherfucker makes an excellent point. The Metallica fanboy is probably the epitome of fanboys. These people probably like Lulu, or whatever the fuck that shit was called. I had tried to listen to that Lou Reed thing with Metallica. I was like, nigga, what the fuck is this shit anyway? I was like, yeah, okay, cool, great. Don't need it, don't want it, not interested. Um, and it's funny because like I don't think who likes Lulu. I don't think anybody likes Lulu, but he's making a great point. At the end of the day, you will always have those people who defend Metallica, no matter what they do, no matter what they put out. They'll find the sweet spot. It's kind of like, okay, yes, I'm gonna go into fanboy mode again with Deftones, but it's kind of like, if you go YouTube and you listen to Gore, the album, you're like, wow, there's a lot of upvotes for this song and this album and positive comments. Are these real people? I don't know. You see, this is the thing, bro. I'm just like, what? The only thing I'll say about that snare drum though So when I first heard it, yeah, it was definitely somewhat disorienting. But I'll be honest with you. You know, I've heard I've heard someone correct it. Uh, and I really don't fucking like the correction. I think it has gotten to the point where when I got the album, I listened to it so much that I liked the snare. I genuinely grew to like the banging on a trash can, Doug Funny type shit, because it really kind of fit the anger aspect. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Maybe it also has to do with the fact that you know I'll just kill the suspense. Do I like the album? For the most part, yeah. For the most part, I like the album. I don't think it's like the greatest album of all time. Obviously, It's not Metallica's best album. Obviously, but there are redeeming traits of the album that personal and some moments on the album that I thought were quite good. And I don't think that the drumming is particularly. I mean, yeah, the drumming is it's Lars, whatever. The drumming is maybe just the same, but the snare trash can lid thing, I don't mind it. Believe it or not.
I feel like you can like this album and also admit that it's garbage. Because who the hell has to just like. There's garbage, this contemporary art, right? Very subjective thing. Some people think it's the worst stuff ever. And there's other people who be like, this is really awesome and inspiring. And then you can just roll your eyes at it. But it's like this, it's their point of view, it's their perception. They can also be self-aware to be like, yeah, I know what this looks like, but this is what it means to me or something like that. I think that is completely okay. There's so many examples of that, like food, just any type of like thing that someone could enjoy. There's something that you could be like the overwhelming people. Like there's that, what's that smelly fruit? Like the durian fruit or something like that that just smells like ass.
Yo. Okay. So where I'm from, we don't have durian, or do we? I don't. Maybe we call it something else. We have something called jackfruit, which I think is of the same same family, same genus. I think the genus is called smells like shit, something like that. I think I might have butchered the pronunciation, but yeah, it smells like shit. I fucking hate the smell. But when you taste it, it's like, fuck, this shit does not taste as bad as it smells. Holy fucking shit. I think he's onto something. I think Derek's onto something.
So I think that's pretty funny. But you get my point where something could just stink like Metallica's Saint Anger, but you can still get value out of it. You can still be like, yeah, I understand that this does not sound like Metallica at all. This is not what I like from Metallica. I have certain expectations when I hear a Metallica record.
Ah, you see? You see? That's what I'm talking about. People have a certain expectation of Metallica. That is perfectly said. Because the fact of the matter is that you know Metallica to have a certain sound, right? Sure. They were not as thrash as the 80s, yada, 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 into the 90s. Load, reload, blah, blah, blah. Cool, great. This foray into new, I don't know, kind of taking certain new metal elements, it just didn't come off. But that's exactly it. If you wouldn't like the album when you have a certain expectation of how it's supposed to sound. And when you have a certain expectation, certain unconscious biases because of what a band had been giving you for what at that point it would have been 15 going on 20 years. As a result, it's kind of like, well, I don't fucking want this shit, bro. What is this? This is ass. And then of course you hear the snare, and obviously you're gonna think to yourself, fuck this shit, I'm out. But yeah, so thrash, or Metallica, when they were doing thrash, more pure thrash, was like the pinnacle of Metallica. I agree with that. That's when they sound their best to me. But even I have not listened to Metallica to such a degree And I'll be honest with you, I really haven't, to such a degree that I would have then listened to Saint Anger in 2003 when I'm just really getting into metal, like maybe a year or two before, and thinking to myself, wow, this is ass. This is shit. I hate this. Blah, blah, blah. I would never have that opinion because I didn't have the bias. I didn't come into the project with that bias that would inform me on the pinnacle of Metallica. So then when I got into that stuff later on, it's like, oh no, this is better than Dancing Anger, obviously. Ride the Lightning is better than Saint like, obviously, right? But I heard that first and it wasn't that bad.
Like, a lot of people were mad, obviously, back in the day when the Black Album came out. I thought that was crazy because it wasn't a huge pivot, in my opinion. If you listen to, like, Metallica have had ballads and have had a lot of melodic stuff throughout it, and I was like, I'm listening to this sound, and I'm like, this isn't, like, crazy far from stuff that they were already putting out.
Okay, you see, that is exactly what I'm talking about. When Black Album came out, people felt like, oh, you're doing more ballads, blah, blah, blah. I don't like that. Why didn't they like that? They didn't like that because that's not what they were used to. They came in with a preconceived motherfucking notion of what a Metallica album is supposed to be, how it's supposed to sound, and blah, 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 blah. That's the issue. This is a major reason that people don't like Saint Anger. They don't like it because, you know, in a weird sort of way, they didn't really have an open mind. And it's not to say that their minds were closed per se. It was just that they had an expectation of how it's supposed to sound.
And then, you know, they released a other few things here and there, and then it's like, you still see, you feel the remnants of Metallica even within some of the other albums that they put out. Even though a lot of people didn't like the load and reload and a lot of stuff, they were like, I don't know about this. But then there were some songs on there like, you know, that's not that bad.
You see? You see? This is what I'm talking about. I didn't even know that. I had no idea people didn't like load or reload. I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with this? This is good. But it's not fucking thrash, and it's not 80s thrash.
So, did it age poorly? I mean, technically no, because it just aged the way that it always has been received. Overwhelmingly, people still think it's garbage. I just think a lot of people have, maybe they just appreciate that Metallica's still around, and maybe they understand how important that album is for their longevity, and I think that's okay. So it's like, anyone who enjoys it, continue to enjoy it. And if new people turn around and enjoy it too, great. But all I'm going to say is you're not going to convince me. You're not going to convince me that this is a solid album and my senses have been wrong about this, because I'm like, no, I've listened to this album front to back a lot of times, more than I normally would, because it's almost like me feeling gaslit, where I'm like, I gotta see, why do people, what is it about this album that people, and I'm like, contrarians, parasocial relationship, not sure, but some weird shit going on, you know?
You know, I'll give you this. So like Invisible Kid, for example. You know, I appreciate a song like Invisible Kid. It kind of has that same kind of new metal aspect. Saint Anger also has that new metal aspect. Frantic has that new metal aspect. Some other songs have that new metal aspect. We're talking about more deeper stuff, emotional stuff, and it's not as if they didn't do that on other projects. Yeah, you know, but then there's songs like Some Kind of Monster that it's like a slap in the fucking face. It's not good. It's like, I don't know what James is thinking. He is somewhat endearing, but in a very saccharine kind of way. This is the and I'm just like, okay. And then he's like, yeah, yeah. And I'm just like, okay. I mean, no. No, 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 no. The song just feels so cringe, bro. But yeah, dude, that's pretty much it. Yeah, as I said before, I really appreciate Derek shifting some focus to some different kind of content and stuff, because I genuinely feel like if he does another deep dive type thing, I may respond to that as well. But yeah, guys, so that's really what it boils down to. It just boils down to the fact that, as Derek said, there are definitely some contrarians. There are definitely some people who they feel like, oh, anything Metallica does is the epitome of music. But from my experience, I feel like people who came into the album already hearing Metallica, already understanding the back catalog, once they heard Saint Anger, they had a certain expectation. And when the band did not fulfill that, it was a fucking problem. It happened with Black Album, it happened with Load, it happened with Reload, and it probably also happened with Death Magnetic. But with Lulu, no, everybody hates that. Okay, cool. So we understand what it is. But you know what? To be fair, maybe Lulu really isn't all that bad. I know I'm talking shit now. I know. But in principle, right? If you never heard of Metallica in your motherfucking life, and then you heard Lulu, if you heard Lulu, maybe for the first time, you don't know Metallica, blah blah blah. Maybe you dig it. I know. It's oh my god, it's such a fucking stretch to think that. It really is. But yeah, you get the principle, right? Yeah, you get it. You get the principle. You get it. You get it. Okay. Thanks for watching.